ASMR has taken over YouTube. Millions whisper into microphones for clicks and views. Gentle tapping, soft-spoken voices, the crinkle of paper. These sounds have captivated audiences worldwide, creating a multi-billion view industry. But what if the greatest seductress in history decided to join the game? In a chamber decorated with the opulence of ancient Egypt, Cleopatra sits between two modern binaural microphones. Her elaborate golden headdress catches the soft lighting, and her coal-lined eyes study the equipment with the same intensity she once used to analyze Roman politics. The juxtaposition is striking. Ancient royalty meets cutting-edge audio technology. She leans forward slightly, her lips barely inches from the left microphone. "YouTube's algorithm?" she whispers, a knowing smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Darling, I've conquered more challenging empires before breakfast." Her perfectly manicured fingers reach out and tap one of the microphones with deliberate gentleness. The sound resonates, crisp, clear, perfectly calibrated. She does it again, slower this time, letting each tap ring out before the next. This is not merely sound. This is strategy. The camera pulls back slightly, revealing the full scope of her setup. Behind her, silk curtains in deep purples and golds frame the scene. Hieroglyphic artwork adorns the walls, but tucked discreetly in the corners are ring lights and a camera monitor. The ancient and modern worlds collide in this space, and somehow, it works. Cleopatra shifts in her seat, and the rustle of her linen robes creates a soft, wisping sound that any ASMR enthusiast would recognize immediately as premium trigger material. She notices this effect and allows herself a subtle expression of satisfaction. Everything about her presence, even the incidental sounds, carries weight and intention. "Let us begin properly," she announces, her voice dropping to that intimate whisper that has become the hallmark of ASMR content. But there's something different about her approach. Where modern creators often sound gentle and accommodating, Cleopatra's whispers carry an undercurrent of authority. This is not a request for attention. It is a command, delivered softly. She reaches off camera and retrieves an ornate golden ankh, its surface gleaming under the lights. The object is substantial, clearly made of real metal, not the plastic replicas found in museum gift shops. She holds it up between the two microphones, letting viewers see its intricate detailing. "This," she whispers, her breath creating subtle pops in the audio that somehow enhance rather than detract from the experience, "is an Ankh, the symbol of life itself in my civilization. Listen to its weight. Listen to its history." She taps the Ankh gently against her palm, creating a soft metallic sound. Then she moves it closer to the left microphone and taps it again, this time letting her fingernail trace along its curved surface. The sound is hypnotic, part chime, part scrape, entirely intentional. She repeats the motion on the right side, creating a stereo effect that makes the sound feel three-dimensional. "For thousands of years," she continues, her voice moving between the microphones as she speaks, "this symbol represented eternal life. Now it represents how many views, do you think?" There's humor in her observation, but also a genuine curiosity about this strange new world where symbols and sounds can become modified, packaged, and distributed to millions with the click of a button. She sets the Ankh down carefully, and the sound of metal meeting would create another satisfying auditory moment. Her hands move to a clay pitcher, authentically aged, with painted decorations that have faded but not disappeared over centuries. She lifts it slowly, and viewers can hear the slight scrape of clay against the wooden table. "The Nile," she whispers, beginning to pour liquid from the pitcher into an ancient-style goblet. The water flows in a steady, gentle stream, and the sound is pristine. The source of all life in Egypt, the reason empires rose and fell, the reason I could afford to have Mark Antony's attention. She pauses the pour, letting silence hang for a moment, a technique she seems to understand instinctively. In ASMR, silence is as important as sound. The anticipation of the next trigger keeps viewers engaged. But you know what's truly fascinating? She asks, resuming the pour. This water sounds exactly the same as it did 2,000 years ago. Technology changes. Empires fall. But water? Water remains water. The goblet fills completely, and she stops pouring. She lifts the vessel to her lips, but doesn't drink. Instead, she breathes across the surface of the water, creating a subtle whistle-like sound that the sensitive microphones capture perfectly. It's an unexpected trigger, and somehow, it feels both ancient and innovative. Setting the goblet aside, Cleopatra reaches for a rolled papyrus scroll. The moment her fingers touch it, the microphones pick up that distinctive crinkle, dry, delicate, fragile. She holds the scroll between the two microphones and slowly begins to unroll it. The sound is exquisite. Each tiny movement of the ancient paper creates a symphony of crackles and whispers. Modern ASMR creators often use new paper or plastic to create similar sounds, but there's something authentic about this. The real crinkle of genuine papyrus, aged to perfection. This scroll, she whispers, her voice taking on a more serious tone, contains secrets. Trade routes, political alliances, the kind of information that could topple kingdoms. She pauses, letting the weight of that statement sink in. Now, of course, people share their deepest secrets in comment sections for strangers to read. She continues unrolling the papyrus slowly, maximizing the auditory experience. When it's fully unfurled, she holds it up to catch the light, and viewers can see the faded hieroglyphics inscribed on its surface. "Do you know what this says?" she asks, her finger hovering over the ancient text. Then she traces the hieroglyphics slowly, her fingernails scraping gently against the papyrus surface. The sound is intimate, like being allowed into a private moment of historical significance. It says, she pauses for effect, subscribe and turn on notifications. The deadpan delivery of this modern phrase in her regal whisper creates a perfect comedic moment. But she doesn't break character. She simply rolls the papyrus back up with the same careful attention, creating all those wonderful crackling sounds in reverse. Cleopatra stands now, her full regalia visible. She gestures for the camera to follow as she walks through her chamber. Each footstep is deliberate, her golden sandals creating soft taps against the stone floor. The microphone setup must be mobile, because the audio quality remains consistent. "Come," she says softly. "Let me show you the sounds of my world." She approaches a low table where a scribe would have worked. On it sits a wax tablet and a bronze stylus. She picks up the stylus, feeling its weight, then brings it to the wax surface and begins to write. The sound is distinctive, a soft scratching, rhythmic and purposeful. "This is how decrees were made," she explains while continuing to write. "This is how history was recorded. Before keyboards, before touch screens. Just bronze on wax and the steady hand of a scribe." The scratching continues, creating a meditative rhythm. She writes a full line, then pauses. "Imagine," she whispers, "every tweet you've ever sent, carved like this. How much more carefully would you choose your words?" She sets the stylus down with a definitive tap and moves to another area of her chamber. Here, cosmetics are laid out, small pots and containers, brushes made from natural fibers, and a polished bronze mirror. Cleopatra sits before the mirror, and the camera angle shifts to show both her reflection and her actual form. She opens a small container of Kohl, the ancient eyeliner that defined Egyptian beauty standards. The lid removal creates a subtle pop, and she dips a fine brush into the pigment. "The art of presentation," she whispers, bringing the brush to her eye. The sound of bristles against skin is barely audible, but the sensitive microphones catch it. "In my time, this was not vanity. This was power. This was saying, I am worth looking at. I am worth listening to." She applies the Kohl with practiced precision, each stroke deliberate. The brush dips back into the container, creating a soft tapping sound. Now everyone has filters, Facetune, Photoshop, but the principle remains the same. We want to be seen as we wish to be seen, not necessarily as we are. When she finishes, she sets the brush down and examines her reflection with approval. She picks up the bronze mirror, and as she tilts it, the light catches its surface, creating subtle shifts in illumination that the camera captures beautifully. From somewhere in the distance, barely audible at first, comes the sound of a stringed instrument. A lyre, played with gentle, measured plucks. Cleopatra's expression softens. "Music was essential in my court," she explains, her voice taking on a dreamy quality. "Not the background noise it has become in your elevators and waiting rooms. Music that told stories. Music that shaped moods. Music that could calm even the most troubled mind." The lyre continues its melody, each plucked string resonating in the space. It's not a complex composition, just simple, repetitive notes that create an atmosphere of ancient tranquility. Cleopatra rises again and moves toward the source of the music. The camera follows, and viewers see a musician sitting in shadow, their hands moving across the lyre strings. But Cleopatra doesn't focus on the musician. She focuses on the instrument itself. She gestures for the musician to pause, then runs her own finger across the strings. The sound is bright, clear, slightly discordant as she has no technique. But she does it slowly enough that each string's individual voice can be heard. "Every string," she whispers, "tells a different story. Together, they create harmony. Separately, they create." She plucks one string firmly. Tension. The metaphor is not lost. She plucks another string, then another, creating a random sequence of notes that somehow becomes meditative in its unpredictability. She returns to her original position between the binaural microphones, settling back into her seat with that same rustle of fabric that opened this journey. Her hands fold in her lap, and she looks directly at the camera, through it really, as if making eye contact with each individual viewer. "You come to these videos seeking calm," she observes, her voice at its softest now, "seeking relief from the noise of your modern world. I understand this completely. In my time, the noise was different. The clamor of the court, the demands of empire, the constant pressure of maintaining power." She reaches out and gently taps the left microphone again, creating that same satisfying sound from the video's beginning. But the need for peace, the need for moments of quiet, that is timeless. Her right hand joins the left, and she begins a pattern. Tap, tap, pause, tap, tap, pause, alternating between microphones, creating a rhythm that is almost hypnotic. "I have learned something about your ASMR," she continues, maintaining the tapping pattern. "It is not just about the sounds. It is about the attention, the focus, someone taking time to create something specifically designed to calm you, to help you, to give you peace." The tapping slows, becomes softer, until her fingers are barely touching the microphones at all. "In that way," she whispers, "it is not so different from what I did. Every word chosen carefully, every gesture calculated, every sound, every silence used with intention." She leans back in her chair, her hands now still. "So I invite you to return to my empire of whispers. Subscribe, as you say in this platform, to my imperial pronouncements. Leave your offerings in the comments. Tell me what sounds from my dominion you wish to experience next." She allows a moment of complete silence, just the ambient sound of the room, subtle, calm, peaceful. "Until we meet again," Cleopatra concludes, her voice barely above a breath. "May you find the calm that even Pharaoh sought." She brings her finger to her lips, that universal gesture for silence, and the screen begins to fade. But before it goes completely black, viewers hear one last sound. A gentle bell chime, clear and resonant, hanging in the air like a promise. The Cleopatra's Whisperings logo appears, stylized and elegant, with that same bell chime echoing one final time. And then, silence.